everybody. David Fogel with you, CEO of the Sinfonina Foundation, back with you for another Sinfonina Foundation podcast. Today I'm joined by Lauren Zoller, cellist, and you've been listening to some of her fine cello playing on that intro from Alexander Unses Sinfonina No. 2, Childhood Sinfonina, which was the runner-up in our Sinfonina competition this last year, and it's going to be on our album coming up later this year, titled TBD. We don't know for sure yet. And you'll just have to stay tuned, as we say in the music business, to see what that title is. But Lauren, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for being part of our 2025 International Sinfonina Orchestra. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, so I have to ask, as I do with almost every musician who comes on here, not everybody starts with the instrument that they wind up on. Did you start with the cello, or how did it go for you?
Oh gosh, I can't believe we're starting with this.
Why not?
I started on the viola. And
okay.
I was in like fourth or fifth grade, and it was basically like one of those instrument zoos where you could pick out kind of what you wanted to try for a little bit,
Uh-huh.
and then be in the strings orchestra. And we were playing Mary Had a Little Lamb, Hot Cross Buns type level performances then.
Mm-hmm.
And one student just started making like quote unquote bumblebee noises on the cello. And I thought that sounded so cool that I switched to cello, and that's been my instrument ever since.
It's funny. Yesterday, I had the pleasure, 2 days ago, I guess now, I had the pleasure of interviewing another cellist in our International Symphony Orchestra, Roland Labonte. And his story is not exactly the same as yours, but quite similar, actually. He was young, started on the violin, didn't like it that much, walked into a store where a guy was playing Star Wars on the cello, and that was it for him. He was hooked on the cello from that time on. So it sounds like that's how it kind of went for you, too.
Absolutely. I think it's also, to go deeper, it's definitely the soul of the cello as well, and all of the range of sounds that it can make. Sometimes in comparison to like viola or violin, it can be fun to see or hear something that's just wildly different than you've ever heard before.
Yeah, I didn't ask you before we got started, but let me ask now. Do you do any composing on your own too, or are you mainly performing?
I don't do any composing.
Okay.
I'm just performing.
Yeah, I said to Roland, maybe you appreciate this too, then, even though you don't do composing yet, but there's still time, Lauren, you might get into it. Many people will do a piano mock-up of an orchestral performance and then start figuring out how to do the arrangement for the orchestra based upon where the voicing is for the piano parts, and maybe they'll change it, but they'll start typically from a piano, and I do too, of course. But I also sometimes do start from a cello mock-up, because the range of the cello, is really quite tremendous. And if you have a large section that's going to rely a lot on a string tone, then even though you're going to sub out the violins and the violas and contrabass later, I think it's really quite useful to try and do a cello mock-up. So here for the cello. I'm a big cello fan too. That's it. Now, when you got started, fourth, fifth grade, then by the time you were probably, I'm going to guess, 10 years or 12 years into it, you're already principal cello with the Wichita Youth Symphony, right? So you really stuck with it and put some time and effort into it. What was your compulsion as a kid? By the way, Lauren's still pretty young. Lauren, do you mind how old you are?
I'm 22.
Yeah, so this is part of the International Symphony Orchestra, where we have young players who, maybe they're aspiring professionals, but they're excellent, whatever their aspirations are. And they also get to play along with established professionals who are already playing with symphony orchestras. And we put them all together and give everybody the opportunity to advance their career that way. So, all right, back to your aspirations as you're growing up. You're 6, you're 7, you're 8, and there's that cello. Is it always calling you, or was it like, no, I have to force myself to practice, and that kind of story?
I mean, I think it was a good mix of both, because I think it took a lot of discipline to practice and really carve out the time on top of schoolwork and other activities growing up. But honestly, it's like it definitely came from the heart, came from the soul while playing. It was just, I loved playing in the symphony growing up, and I loved playing chamber music with other students, because there's just sort of this epiphany like feeling that happens for you when everything merges together and the sound is just gorgeous. I think I knew kind of from a young age that that was a very important thing to strive towards. And excellence was always kind of a goal. I definitely did have a lot of support, but also a little bit of pressure from family and professors and teachers to keep it up. And that can also be very motivating to keep going. And I always had the best of teachers
Mm.
growing up and doing this, so I got a lot of inspiration from them as well to keep going, and that it doesn't always have to be a career path towards professional musicianship. You can do so many other things that still includes music in your life.
Yeah, in surfing we have a saying. The question is, who's the best surfer, and the answer is the one having the most fun. And it can be the same in music. I mean, if you're really aspiring to be an elite pro, it's not like that.
Yeah.
Nor is it if you're an elite pro surfer. But for the rest of us, our mere mortals, yeah, we can be the best by having the most fun. You mentioned the importance of your teachers. I think that's really not to be overlooked. So let's go, if you want to name some of your teachers and tell us a little bit about what it was that they were, how they inspired you, I guess would be the way to put it. And then maybe what other students can take away from those lessons that you learned that they can use for their own inspiration.
Absolutely. Well, definitely when it came down to the basics, they definitely drilled technique and discipline and tone and intonation into me. But one of my favorite teachers and cello professors that I ever had was Dr. Susan Mayo. At the time, she's teaching at Friends University because she did all of those things, which was instill discipline and striving towards excellence, and um, could be very strict sometimes in her lessons. But then at the same time, she was definitely um, leading as a music professional in the sense that she was also a cellist in the symphony, but she was constantly putting on concerts of her own, in addition to starting up nonprofits of her own for addressing different needs in the community that she saw that could be filled with an arts organization. So she always had different side activities going on that really showed how much she loved the music and loved the community that it could bring together and then aid in different ways. So I absolutely got a lot of inspiration from her because it definitely moved me towards a more nonprofit administrative route than necessarily a professional musician route.
I think that's so important too when you think about, like, you want to be let's say the best you can be, whatever I was saying quotes, but we all have to strive to be better, whatever it is we're practicing on. But then to keep a vision that there's more than just that instrument, or more than our vocals, or more than whatever it is that we're working on, whether anything, whatever that is in life. If you're a tennis player, it's the same thing. If you're a race car driver, it's probably the same thing. There's more to life than whatever it is that is that advocation. So that's wonderful that she was such a great example for you, and that's good to keep in mind for everybody else to make sure. The joke is, you have to practice 24 hours a day, or maybe 48 hours a day, but there's more to life than that, and it helps you get better to take those breaks and refocus on what's important, I think, anyway.
Absolutely, I would totally agree.
Yeah. So right now, you mentioned nonprofit administration. If I understand correctly, you're working with the Seattle Chamber Music Society. Tell us about that.
Yes, I am. So I graduated college in May of 2024 in nonprofit management, and I wanted to work in an arts organization, specifically in development and in fundraising, because that's kind of where I really want to grow. And so I spent that summer really applying for jobs and trying to find the right fit. And so that included a move from Kansas City, all the way out to Seattle. And now I'm working at Seattle Chamber Music Society in development. And so it's a really, really great organization because it really centers the musicians, but then also the community that shapes and grows and thrives as a result of having chamber music around in the city. And so it's just a huge emphasis on connection and community, which I really love.
How many performances does the society put on or promote in a year?
We have many performances. Coming up right now is our summer festival, and don't quote me on this 100%, but it's 4 weeks of performances with multiple concerts each week. In addition to free concerts at different parks around Seattle, and we also have a concert truck with with performances at different parks around the city throughout the summer.
That's wonderful.
So, yeah, we're really, really looking forward to that. That starts in June 20th, goes all the way through August 1st. So that's our big thing coming up. And then we also have a winter festival and a signature series, which has excellent performances throughout the year. So it's really fun. There's a lot going on. We even have a concert this Sunday too with the Ennis Quartet playing.
Do you have visiting players then who come to the Seattle area, or are they all homegrown players that are playing in their community?
World-class musicians coming from all around the world.
Okay.
So many
Okay.
of them are touring and traveling and
Yeah, well,
coming into town for that.
that's great. And of course, the weather in Seattle in the summertime is wonderful.
Oh yeah.
Generally, yeah, I guess we can always have
Generally, yeah.
bad
The
experiences.
winters are pretty
A
rainy.
little rainy and drizzly, yes, but summertime in the Pacific Northwest is gorgeous, and to have outdoor chamber concerts, that's terrific. How long has the society been around?
It's been around since the 80s, so it was actually founded by a cellist. And unfortunately, she passed away, but the artistic director is now James Ennis. And he's been the artistic director for a number of years now and has really grown the organization to be what it is today. So
Yeah.
it's super exciting.
Do you happen to know the website for the society offhand?
Yeah, it's seattlechambermusic.org.
Okay, seattlechambermusic.org. I encourage everybody to go check it out. I will be checking it out right after we finish speaking, Laura, so I can learn more and see about maybe there's a way that the Sinfonina Foundation can help you with the society and help promote it. So we'll see what we can do. I know you also sometimes perform in quartets and you do some wedding planning, or you used to do that. I guess there's probably some good stories there. So let me ask, what's your best wedding planning story?
Oh gosh, I don't know if it's if I
Or
have
your
good
worst. You
stories
can
or
go
the
for the worst.
worst
Yeah,
stories
right.
because
Either
if
one would be
they're
good.
if
Yep.
it's the best story, then everything went well.
Yeah, it's generally.
And then you forget about it and you move on. But
Mm.
I've had some very beautiful weddings where our string quartet really shaped the atmosphere of the moment, and it was very intimate and very special, and everybody was crying, and it was truly a moment where it felt like your job really impacted somebody's really special day. And then other ones included being outside, and that's where they've gone less well in the past.
Hmm.
Outdoor weddings and in general, outdoor performances can definitely be tough. And especially with the elements, especially with just different things that could happen to your instruments at different times. So I did have an incident once where um a stand fell on my cello and there's a crack. There's like a small scratch on my cello to this day that I just haven't gone around to fixing yet. But it was a tumultuous weather outdoor wedding.
Goodness. Yeah. Well, when that happens, I remind myself of something a friend said to me about a surfboard that I had once and got a ding. And he said, if it was a work of art, you would hang it on a wall.
Exactly.
And it is
Exactly.
not. So it's
It's not.
meant to be played. So these things can happen, unfortunately. But it's good that you didn't like fret about it. It sounds like it's part of the experience.
Yeah, it's a chip on the shoulder.
Yeah, like, well, a little memento, right? So
Hmm.
That's good. So do you still do that now, or are you pretty much 100% focused on the Chamber Music Society?
At the moment, I'm pretty focused on working at Seattle Chamber Music Society. On occasion, a gig will come around,
Hmm.
and I'm always open to more gigs.
Hmm.
For the moment, I'm definitely focusing more on my full-time job.
Yeah, well, let's talk about your gigging for a second, Lauren. So if people want to get in touch with you to see if you might want to their play cello for them, whatever their thing is. For us, it was an album that we're going to release, but as part of an orchestra. But maybe it would just be a cello solo or something else. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. You could also find me on Instagram.
Hmm.
Both places I'm pretty active on, and it would be a good place to reach out because it's just my first and last name.
Okay, and that's Zoller for those of you looking it up. And tell us a little bit about your recording setup. That might be helpful for people in deciding whether or not that's a good fit for them.
Yes. So my recording setup is pretty basic at the moment. I just have a condenser mic
Hmm.
and my closet space to record in.
Hmm.
And in addition to just my laptop and Ableton Live. So that is one option. And then live performances would probably be the best route
Well,
to
let
book
me
me
let me
for.
offer yeah, no, let me offer a quick comment on that for everybody. So I think what Lauren just said there is really a testament to something important. You don't have to have like $10,000 recording equipment to get a great tone and a great recording sound. And I can vouch for Lauren's performances are super good. And one of probably 9 or 10 cellists we have as part of the Sinfonina Orchestra this year, recording for Alex Unseth's Sinfonina, and it was very easy to take her work and put it in the mix and make the necessary adjustments to make it sound like everybody's playing at the same time. So, for those of you who are also interested in getting into recording your instruments, having a good acoustic setup is important, and having a reasonably good microphone is important, or a set of microphones, depending on what instrument you're doing. But I don't get too hung up, I think, over the gear so much as trying to just experiment a little bit and see what works for you to generate the best tone that you can. And I guess the acoustics of your closet are very good, Lauren.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just make sure the levels are good, and then you
That is
don't have
important.
too much to worry about beyond that.
That
Make
is
sure
imp-
not too
yeah.
many cars and sirens are going off in the
Yeah,
background.
zero appreciated on that one. But yes, recording with a good level so that the recording engineer like me can come along and take a look at it and go, there's the waveform, and not have to hunt for it and not see that it's clipped on the side and have to go, okay, let's try again, right? So, but a little experimentation, I think, for most people who are interested in that will get them where they need to go. But again, I don't think you need to invest thousands of dollars in gear necessarily. I mean, maybe you do for whatever standard you have, but I think we end up with an extremely good result from people recording all over the world with their own setups. And Lauren's setup is perfectly good for you. So it's been a real pleasure to listen to your work and to have you participate with us. And what do you have planned for 2025? Anything else besides your working for the Chamber Music Society? Do you have your own gigs that you might be doing this year? Somewhere where we can go and see you perform?
Yeah, I don't currently have any gigs set up, but I would like to perform more solo shows with me and my loop pedal because I do have a lot of pieces like that Alex Unseth has actually composed for me
Mm-hmm.
that are just really beautiful pieces that I love to go out and play at like a farmer's market or just out on the town or even just for friends and being able to build off of a bass line with cello and just play some really, really fun pieces this summer and try to have fun with it. Especially since I work in classical music now for a full-time job. I'm definitely seeking opportunities to play more for fun than professionally.
Well, I tell you what, if you get any gigs planned like that, you just let us know, and I'll be more than happy to post it on the Symphony Foundation website to let people know about it. And then we'll do a little boost post to the Seattle area and see if we can't get a few more people to learn about how great a cellist you are and enjoy your performances.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Oh, it's our pleasure. So, Lauren, thank you so much for joining us and also for participating on our album as part of our orchestra. Hopefully, we'll do it again next year with you if you're still available. And again, if anybody wants to reach out to Lauren, that's on Instagram. Just check her name, Lauren, Lauren, Zoller, Zoller. And we'll listen to some more of Alex Unseth Symphony No. 2, Childhood Symphony on the way out. Thanks so much, Lauren.
Thank you so much for having me.